Chloe Clark, for those who don't know my name, because apparently I don't post my name anywhere. This is the color theory series that I'm starting. So this is basically just me explaining my understanding of color theory and paint mixing and how I apply it to art and creating paintings. This theory I could use with any kind of pigment, honestly, because it's the same pigments that you basically use for everything. You just use different binders for the different paints or medium. In this series I will be covering hues, tones, tints, warm versus cool, all of the everything about color. I love color, it's amazing. I'm a STEM girl, so this is going to be a bit sciencey. There's a lot of physics involved, kinda, but you don't need to be good at physics. You just have to be willing to understand the basics so you could mix paints with ease, or you could just, you know, guesstimate or just work from where I pick up with the pigments and what colors make what, and then you'll kind of gain a little intuition on how you'll get what color based on the ratios. So yeah, hope you all enjoy this kind of overcomplicated lesson. But yeah, in this video we will be getting into the visible light spectrum, what is color, what is white light, primary colors of light, secondary colors of light, primary colors of paints, why I use the secondary colors of light as the primary colors of paint to paint, and all of that good stuff. So yeah, so we will start off by describing color. Color is what is observed when something in light reflects aspects of that light. Pure colors are observed when an object is in white light and it reflects certain aspects of white light. White light to the human eye is a combination of all of the colors that we observe. When white light is passed through a prism, it disperses into what we know as a rainbow, but is the visible light spectrum, and it runs from red to violet. We will touch slightly on the visible light spectrum, but I wanted to get into human color perception for a little bit. So the human eye has three types of cones. They can perceive red light, green light, and blue light, meaning that one cone can observe red lights, like a range of reds, one cone can observe a range of greens, and another cone can observe a range of blues. Everything that we see and that we observe are a combination of those cones just working with the world around us. The visible light spectrum is the range of light that is observed by the human eye. So we can only see this when all of these other things exist. It runs from violet to red. Everything in between is a continuous flow of the colors, which is why color mixing and all of these things are possible. Because of the fact that the visible spectrum is continuous, there are components of each color in every color. So the violets will have some amount of green in it, the blue will have some amount of red in it, the yellow will have some amount of blue in it, etc. It's continuous. It's a ratio of the basic primary colors of light, and that is what we will get into with color mixing. The visible spectrum, there isn't anything that we can see past this or past this, so when we have a color wheel, we basically have to fill in the gap between the red and the violet with an imaginary color called magenta. An observation of the color wheel graph, you will see that the green is here, the green to violet region is here, green to red is here, and then we have red to violet. Because of how it was cut off in this, There's nothing here and there's nothing here. Our eyes fill in the gap between the red and the violet. So there is no green at all here, which is why I like to paint with magentas, because magentas don't have any green, and you could use this to kind of influence the palette more because there is no green. You could either make it a red or you could make it a purple very easily without the color looking muddy. So this is how the color wheel looks by our eyes just filling out the gap between violet and red. This color doesn't exist. Technically, we're just making things work. So before we get into color mixing, that is color mixing in light versus color mixing in paints and pigments, we have to get into what even is a pigment. To put it simply, pigments are substances used to color things. Pigments are compound-based things that have something that either reflects or absorbs a certain amount of wavelengths. So if it is something is red, that means that it absorbs every other wavelength besides the wavelengths that are associated with reds. If it is it's green, it reflects green and absorbs everything else. If it's black, it absorbs everything. If it's white, it reflects everything, because again, white light is a combination of all of the colors in the visible spectrum of light. Pigments can be altered by changing up the composition, and this would mean altering the ratio of what is in the pigment. This is basically changing up what will be absorbed and what will be reflected. So if it is you have a red and you want to make it orange, you will add yellow to it. So now it's reflecting red and yellow light, which is a technicality when we get into color mixing with colors, but that's essentially what you're doing with paint mixing. You're just altering the ratio of the composition of the pigments. I know it's kind of complicated, but it's good to know these things when you just want to be mixing colors off of the top of your head. Like, you know what you're doing. You have to know what you're doing to do it. So we will start with color mixing in light, because this is where everything starts. This is what our eyes perceive. Recall that we can only perceive red, green, and blue light because of the three types of cones that we have in our eyes. So yellow light is observed when red and green are mixed. So that's why it's in the middle here. Red plus green gives you yellow with light. For cyan light here, this is when green and blue are mixed, so you get cyan. And magenta is formed when red and violet are mixed, so we have magenta. In pigments, these three would be ideal to paint with, because you realistically can't mix these colors with paints based on the fact that they are made up of red plus green, green plus blue, red plus blue. These are chemically composed pigments that you cannot make probably outside of a lab. So for paint mixing in pigments now, when you mix magenta and yellow, you get red. You get a range of reds. So you get from magenta all the way to yellow. And when you mix cyan and magenta, you go from magenta to cyan. So you get these range of colors. These are pure hues. And when you mix yellow and cyan, you get a range of greens all the way to yellow. These colors observed in pigments, when you mix them, the raw colors without any white or black, these are called hues. They are pure colors. They do not have any shading, they do not have any tinting, they do not have any toning. So now I'm going to show you what I mean by you can't mix these colors based on this. Like, you can't mix them. So I'm going to use phthalo green, ultramarine blue, and cadmium red to try to simulate mixing these colors. So we have, so it takes a bit of red because I don't want to waste the paints. And then, oh, this green is thick. This is what you get when you mix red and green. Yeah, it's a brown-ish kind of thing. So I'm just gonna put this here. This is what you get when you mix red and green. You don't get yellow. So now we're going to try mixing the green and the blue and see if we get cyan. So we have the ultramarine blue. And then we have the phthalo green. I'm gonna mix them. I'm sorry, these are really thick because I don't use them like at all when I had them for years. So we get like a kind of teal, which is not cyan. And I'm just going to swatch that here. And now for the last one, we will be attempting to make magenta with red and blue. So we have the cadmium red, and then we have ultramarine blue. This is like a kind of burgundy situation. Okay, so now we will be doing color mixing based on pigments using the secondary colors of light. Those are yellow, cyan, and magenta. So first we'll be starting with magenta and yellow in an attempt to get red. So this is processed cyan. This is dealer round system for acrylics. These are what I use all the time for my pigments. This is processed yellow. This is basically done and I'm wasting it. And then you put a little bit of yellow. You don't need much yellow to get you red with magenta. And then you mix it. You could actually mix cadmium red with yellow and magenta. This is more of an orange, but I'm going to put it there. This is the red for that. And now we're going to mix cyan and magenta in an attempt to get a blue. Again, this is all based on the ratios. So since blue would be the primary color that I want to see, I will start with the cyan and add a little. And then a little bit of the processed magenta. So that, mix it. And this is kind of like an ultramarine blue. Close to an with some more cyan and some black, I would get the ultramarine blue, but this is a blue from cyan and magenta. And then this can go from blue to violet the more you add magenta. And now we're doing cyan plus yellow. So we're doing a green. You could start with either depending on what kind of green you want. It doesn't really matter right now because this is just a demonstration. So I put the cyan and then I put some yellow and then we have the green. So this little exercise is based on so many theory behind it, and it's kind of why I would use these secondary light colors as my primary colors for paint mixing, because I can mix anything based on just this little thing that I will show you right here. These are shades. You can see that all of these colors are shades. I will go into shades in probably like episode 3, but these are not pure hues. Yeah, these are pure hues because you can see it clear as day on this. The magenta plus the yellow, you got a red, and then you could increase it to more of a yellow by adding more yellow, or starting with yellow and then adding magenta to get these range of colors. The cyan and magenta, magenta, cyan, again you add some magenta to the blue and you'll get like these blues in between all the way to violet. And the cyan and yellow, the same thing as before, you add some yellow to the blue and then it will end up somewhere around here. Now the tertiary colors, I would get into tertiary color mixing, so you could get like browns and all of these things, but you can mix any color as long as it's not neons, which would require a certain element included from just having magenta, yellow and cyan in your palette, along with white and black for shading, tinting and toning. I hope that was helpful. I wanted to make these as informative as possible and include as much relevant information as possible so you will be able to improve your color perception. This is not like paint mixing basics, this is color theory from how I understand it. And yeah, anyway, thank you for watching. I will be doing a lot more of these because it has so much to cover on color theory. I just can't wait to get into everything because I'm going to be doing reds, blues, warm versus cool. Yeah. Next week we will be getting into the color wheel, so that'll be mixing colors from the secondary colors of light. Those are magenta, cyan and yellow, versus mixing colors with the traditional primary colors of art, red, blue and yellow. We will get into that and all that good stuff. So yeah, bye, happy Easter. I hope everybody enjoyed their weekend and had a good time.